Part 2. Then we have Randy Orton versus MVP. This was a good match. This was surprising. You don't get to see Orton wrestle like this very much anymore, mainly because he's wrestling people like Triple H, who just want to punch at the start of matches. So it started off with a lot of that pro wrestling sort of working each other's arms and jockeying for positions. So they were doing lots of arm bars, arm breakers, all that sort of stuff. And they were doing fireman's carries, and, just good pro wrestling stuff, that sort of technical pro wrestling, which I really enjoy watching once in a while, albeit the crowd, of course, weren't into it at all. But, yeah, so Orton didn't have to just do what he gets to do with Triple H, which is punch. Anyway, this was good. This made MVP look good, really good. MVP hit a big boot to the corner, which took Orton out of the ring. During the break, Orton regains the momentum by hitting his elevated DDT off the ropes, and then he also hits his beautiful inverted backbreaker thing. I love that move. They do the trade punching thing with the crowd cheering, yay, no, etc., etc. MVP gets a lot of momentum. He does the overhead throw, he does the ball and elbow, he does lots of it, his moves, lots of good stuff. He goes for the boot again, Orton throws him over the top rope, and then Shane McMahon comes from nowhere, ruining a good match. Shane comes out with a kendo stick and beats Orton with it. A legacy run out, but Shane escapes into the crowd and celebrates with them. The match between MVP and Orton is basically forgotten about, which I suppose is good, because Orton obviously has to win the match, which just kills MVP's momentum. But it was a good match up till that point. And later on in the night, they announced that it's going to be Shane versus Orton in Raw's main event next week, which I presume was supposed to get a pop from the crowd, but it didn't. Everyone just sort of let out a collective sigh. That again? Really? Anyway, yeah, so that was a good match. Ruined by the ending, of course, but, at least MVP didn't have to take the pin. Then we had The Miz come out, and he talks about how he is the most valuable draft pick for Raw. He makes some pop culture references, talks about what a celebrity he is, and talks about some girl's phone numbers he has. And we're all supposed to be impressed. Then he challenges John Cena to a match. Cena's music plays, but of course he can't come out because he was so injured last night by being chokeslammed into the spotlight by the Big Show. Miz asks him, "Are you scared of me? What do I have to do to get you to come out?" And then he mocks him rather well by going, "No, Cena, I can't see you because your movies aren't in theatres long enough," which I enjoyed. Yeah, but that was pretty much it, except that The Miz announced that he was winner by forfeit. Another example of, you could have just had The Miz come out and wrestle a good match, but instead you have him do a sort of, bullshit promo. Anyway, then we have Carlito and Primo come out to absolutely no pop from the crowd. Why are these guys not over? I don't get it at all. I think they're really good. I think they're massively underrated. Carlito is brilliant, and Primo is very good. I don't understand what the problem is. Anyway, they're facing Jamie Noble and Chavo Guerrero, which is the closest thing to a jobbers tag team I've ever seen in my life. The commentators talk about how it's going to be Carlito versus Ted DiBiase on WWE Superstars, which should be a good match. I've been impressed by DiBiase recently, and also means they're obviously going to do the priceless Carlito Primo feud, which should be a good feud. This was an okay match. Once again, this actually got quite good towards the end, but it was just such a short match that it didn't even matter, and there was it never meant anything. There was no doubt that Chavo Guerrero and Jamie Noble aren't going to beat the Colognes. But Chavo Guerrero and Jamie Noble worked together a bit. They did some good they did a few little tag team moves. Same with Carlito and Primo. They told a bit of a story. Primo gets dominated for a bit, but not for enough time for it to mean anything. And then Carlito gets the hot tag. Carlito comes in, clears house, does some cool moves. He does a great bit where he's on the ring apron. He jumps to the top rope, jumps to the middle rope, and does a springboard front flip onto Jamie Noble. Then Primo does his usual suicide dive, which ends every match, and then Carlito does the backstabber for the win. Good match. The Colognes deserve some respect. Then we had a little Batista promo. Basically, Todd Grisham asks him if he feels responsible for Triple H losing the title, and Batista's like, well, I don't remember if he says yes or no, but he just says, I'm going to take Randy Orton out like Randy Orton took out Triple H and McMahon's. Vicky Guerrero announces the main event for next week, Orton v Shane, whatever. And then we had Show versus Batista. Big Show versus Batista for the number one contendership match for Randy Orton's title at Judgment Day. I mean, what are you expecting me to say about this match? This match was fucking terrible. Of course this was going to be terrible. This was just, you know, a joke. Two rubbish wrestlers. You know, wrestlers who can't do anything. I don't know what they thought was going to happen. At the start of the match, we had the Big Show doing his boxing to the camera. And I'm just like, he doesn't even look like he's that good at punching. You know what I mean? Yeah, but they're selling the punches throughout. Batista gets a few punches to the ribs, and they're acting like it's the end of the world. Big Show dominates Batista for a long time. Big Show's clearly the number one contender, but by the way they're booking him right now, he's got like so much momentum. No one can beat him. Absolutely no one. They're just booking him ridiculously strong. But anyway, yeah, he does the most boring submission holds you can imagine: a camel clutch and a sleeper hold, and a bear hug rather. Batista finally gets some momentum by hitting a spine buster, or as it's sometimes known, the Big Show falling backwards. He signals for the Batista bomb. We know you can't do it. And then Big Show hits the choke slam on him, but he rolls out of the ring. Then at the end of the match, John Cena makes some less spectacular interference than the Big Show made last night by hobbling, and I mean hobbling out to the ring, holding onto a referee looking like an invalid, and just staring at, rather wincing at the Big Show. Big Show starts walking down the aisle towards him. The referee makes that usual incredibly fast 10 count when they want to count someone out. And Big Show, the funniest thing was watching Big Show try and run back into the ring. Yeah. So basically, Batista wins by count out. John Cena costs Big Show the match, and Big Show's furious and he's screaming at him. After the match, Batista hits Big Show with the spear to make it look like, oh, maybe Batista could have won the match, even though he was clearly getting dominated throughout. Cena and Big Show stare at each other. Obviously, they're going to have a match at Judgment Day. I think we all knew that anyway. That's clearly why they had that bullshit ending at Backlash. And final thought, John Cena was there on Raw, so I guess that means he was afraid of The Miz, and therefore The Miz did win by forfeit. Anyway, feel free to rate, comment, ask questions, and subscribe if you wish, and I will see you for an ECW review tomorrow. Bye.